Hey there artists, ready to make eye-catching art in record time? Join me in this Procreate tutorial where I'll show you how to turn a simple sketch into a poster-worthy illustration. No hours of work required. With just a few shapes, lines and my secret tricks for adding colour and texture, you'll be amazed at how quickly you can create something that pops. Perfect for beginners and seasoned artists alike. This step-by-step tutorial will teach you how to bring a lighthouse sketch to life in minutes. Let's get drawing and make art feel effortless. In the description below, I will outline what brushes I have used. However, please feel free to use what you have. You will also find a free download of the sketch and the colour palette with the colours I have used. I have set my canvas dimensions and colour profile to the following settings. Let's begin. I have already opened my Procreate sketch file. So let's select that one, switch it to multiply, take it down to about 50% or thereabouts. Create two new layers, select both, group, rename, lighthouse. Close this group and just pop the sketch layer on top. I'm going to select the bottom layer, and for this job I'm going to be using the sleek marker at size 10. And the colour we'll be using is this nice red-orange here. And we're going to create an outline of the lighthouse. I'm just going to show you a little trick on how to get straight lines. So start drawing your line, and at the end, just keep on holding down at that point and don't lift it off the paper. And you can change where you want the end point to be. And I want it to be about there, and I'll do the same for this side here. So at the end you keep on holding, then you can change the end point, but I'll have my end point about here. And let's continue with the rest of the outline. Okay, so we're just going to fill that in with colour. Now we're going to do the bars. We're going to use the same marker, but we'll just take the size up to size 20. And let's do the bars. So we can use that trick where we do the straight line. So start at a point, take it down, and then hold it and adjust it to where you want it to be. Same here. And just continue the process. And now we're just going to select this layer here and we'll duplicate it. Make sure you've got the top layer selected. We're going to use the eraser tool for this. So select the eraser tool, just use the sleek marker here at around 23% will do. And we're just going to turn the bottom layer off. Make sure you've got the razor selected, and we're going to make a straight line here. And now we can increase the size, and we're just going to basically erase everything from that line upwards. Okay, so we're going to go to the color palette and select this color here, and we'll fill that in with that color here. Just turn the sketch layer off, and let's turn the rest of the lighthouse on. Now let's create the light. So we're just going to create a new layer on top here, and we'll actually just place that down here and grab that one and place it on top here. So that layer is right at the bottom there. And we're going to continue using the sleek marker, same color, at around size 10. And we're just going to create an outline of the light coming from the lighthouse. You can use that trick with a straight line and just fill it in with that color. Now let's create these rocks at the bottom here. So close this group, create 2 new layers on top. Select both layers, group, and rename to rocks and C. Let's select the bottom layer here. We're going to create an outline of this first rock here. So we'll just leave it at the sleek marker. Size 10 is fine. And we're going to select this color here, the first blue on the left. And let's create an outline of the rock. And we can fill that in with color. Let's create an outline of the second rock. So let's select this layer here. Let's momentarily just turn this layer off. And same brush, same size. The color we'll use is this darkest blue here. Let's create an outline of the second rock. Fill it in with color. Let's turn this layer back on, and we actually just need to place this one on top here. Now let's create the C. So just create a new layer, grab this one and grab this one and pop it on top. Select the bottom layer here, use the same marker at the same size, but for the color we'll choose this blue here. So third from the right. We will turn off these layers momentarily, and let's create an outline of the sea. Fill it in with color. Turn these layers back on. Okay, let's just turn the sketch layer off. And let's go to the background color here. And for the background, we're going to select this blue here, so second from the right. Hold up, let's pause for a moment to recognize something important. So I'm just going to make the toolbars disappear, and to do this you grab your 4 fingers and you tap it on the screen, just so we can see what's happening on the screen here. Look at what we've created already. With just a few strokes and shapes, we've laid down the foundation of our illustration, and it was so quick and easy. Now I'm about to show you how to elevate this piece with just a few simple touches. Adding texture and small details is all it takes to make a big impact without a lot of effort. Art doesn't have to be complicated, and this shows that anyone can do it, even if you're a total beginner. Let's dive into the fun part and watch this come to life. Let's add some detail to the light here. So just turn our tool bar back on. I'm going to just close this one and go to the lighthouse. Select the light layer and create 2 new layers on top. Select this layer here, and we're going to go back to this color here, and the brush that we'll be using for this job is the dense stippler at size 28, and we're just going to add a little bit of detail to the light. So to do this, I like to twist my canvas so I have better control, just like I would on a piece of paper, and you just go back and forth like this and add this detail. And this is a pressure sensitive brush, so you can put a bit of pressure down just at the edge of the light, and you can release it a bit as you go out like so. And we can also do the same to the other side. Now we just want to make sure that we don't get this stark outline of where the shape of the light was, so just make sure you cover those areas there so we don't get that outline there. So it looks like a gradual easing off. And let's just put a little bit of light on the inside of the lighthouse, like so. We'll release the pressure as you go out here a bit. We're now going to use the buzz shader just to refine the light a little bit, and at size 25, so we'll keep the same color, and we can just add some more. This is just a finer brush that will add finer detail, so we just sort of blend that in on the edge here. And do the same to this side. We can just add a little bit of the light detail on this side as well as it goes out. Now I'm just going to quickly go back to the dense stippler, and I'm just going to make sure that we don't get that stark outline here, and it was, I think, at size 28 or thereabouts. So just fix up any areas where you can still kind of see the solid edge of the shape, just to sort of blend it in. Now we're going to add some texture to the rocks and the sea here. So we just close this, go to the rocks and sea group, select this layer here, create a new layer on top, clipping mask, and we're going to add some texture to this rock here. So I just explain how a clipping mask works. So this is the clipping mask layer. So anything we place on this layer here will be clipped to this shape on this layer underneath, on layer 7. So just basically the texture we put on this layer 13 will be contained to this shape on layer 7. So for this job, I'm going to use the dehydrated brush at size 18, and the color that I'll be using is this color here. And we're just going to add a bit of texture to the rock, like so. If it doesn't work out the way you like it the first time, you just place 2 fingers on the screen to undo that and give it another go. Now with this brush you can play around with how much pressure you put down, as well as the tilt of the pen. So tilting the pen will give you different results. Now I'm happy with that, but I will do just a little thing with this one here. So I'm just going to select the N here, and you can play around. I'll just put that here so we can see what we're doing. Yeah, so here we can play around with different effects. And when you find one that you like, you can use that. I might actually use add here. And then you can play with the opacity slider and see how visible you want that effect to be. So I might leave it at around 70–71%. And now we're going to add some texture to the second rock. So select this second rock, create a new layer on top, clipping mask. Now for this job we'll use the distressed brush, which is over here, at around size 22. So we'll use this color here, third blue from the right, and you can apply the texture here. Now let's add some texture to the sea. So we just select this layer here, create a new layer on top, clipping mask. The color that we'll use is this color here, and the brush that we'll be using is the jittery brush at size 38 or thereabouts is fine. You can play around with how much pressure you put down on this brush because it's a pressure sensitive brush. Now let's add some texture to the lighthouse. So let's close this group, open up the lighthouse, select this layer here, creating a new layer on top, clipping mask. And for this job we're going to use the weathered texture brush. The color that we'll be using is this color here, actually this color here, at around size 5%. This is a pressure sensitive brush, so you can add more pressure on the side here and just ease it up as you go in a bit. And I'll just show you a little trick. So let's just pull this to the side here. So that texture is looking quite good, but it's just a little bit too stark for my liking. So I'm just going to select multiply, and then you can play around with the opacity slider until you get the desired result. And I might leave mine at about 50% or thereabouts. So we'll also add some texture to the bottom of the lighthouse here. So select this layer, create a new layer on top, clipping mask. We're going to be using the same brush at the same size, but we will select this color here, and let's add some texture. And once again, let's go to select multiply and play around with the opacity slider. I might leave mine at around that percent. So let's just have a look at our illustration. It's not finished yet, but we're very, very close. So we'll just add some finishing touches now. So we might just add some detail to the water, the sea here. For this job, we will use the dehydrated brush at size 20 or thereabouts. The color we will use is this lightest blue on the right. Open this up and let's just select the top layer and create a new layer on top. So we're just going to add a bit of detail here so it looks like the water's splashing and foaming. We're also just going to add a little bit of subtle texture to the light here. So let's go back to the lighthouse and select this layer, create a new layer on top. For this brush, we're going to use the subtle noise brush, this one here, at around 16%, and the color that we'll be using is this one here. And just go in and just go over once to add a bit of this noise texture to the light here. It's very, very subtle. I'll just zoom in so you can see. Just adds a little bit of charm to the drawing. It's little details like this that make the drawing what it is. We're also going to add a few stars here and there to the sky. So just close this, select that, create a new layer on top. You can quickly rename this to stars if you like. And the brush that we will use for this is the textured pencil at around size 9. We'll choose this lightest color here. And we're just going to add a few stars here and there. I'm just going to turn the toolbars off so they disappear, and so we can see what we're doing. So you just want to go in and create a few stars here and there. Just make it look like they've been randomly placed. You can also go in and make a few smaller ones. Just go really tiny with these, just here and there. Might have a cluster of stars here and there. Just one final step now, and we're going to create a border. So I'm just going to teach you this really cool trick in how to create this textured border for our artwork. And for this job we will use, so just 4 fingers on the screen, to bring the toolbars back up. For this job we will use the fuzzy filler at size 33, 34, thereabouts. And let's just make this a little bit smaller. And just make sure you've got the disc selected here. Now you could go in and try and select a white, but it might not be a pure white. And to select a pure white, I'll teach you this trick. So you just double tap here and a pure white is selected. And same as if you wanted a pure black, you just do it on the opposite end. So twice there for a pure black, and tap twice on this side for a pure white. So with our brush selected, we're just going to create this line. And I'm using that straight line trick. And let's do this to each edge of the canvas. So remember how we did this. We put the pen down, we draw the line, we hold it, and that creates a straight line for us, and we can move the end point around and release it when you're happy. Okay, let's have a look at what that is looking like. So that's looking pretty good, but what I might do is just round the corners a little bit here. So I'm going to use the same brush, but just take it down in size a notch. So let's just maybe try it at around 24%. And I'm just going to go in and round up the corners a little bit like that. And you can twist the canvas to make the job easier. Just make the edges a little rounder. I'm just going to go in and just lighten up so I get a bit of the texture coming through around the edges. So not put a lot of pressure on the brush, like so. Just a really light amount of pressure, like so. And the other thing you can do, if you want to, is you can go in, and if it's too much of the color showing through from the image on the sides here, you can just sort of go in and gently cover those areas. And there you have it, our finished piece. I hope this tutorial showed you just how simple, fast and fun it can be to create amazing art with just a few steps. Let's take a moment to really appreciate the details in our artwork. Notice how the texture brings a whole new dimension, making the illustration feel alive and dynamic. The way each brush stroke and added detail catches the light and creates depth and truly transforms the illustration. Let's just zoom in and have a look at those details and the texture. And so we'll zoom in here, have a look at the wonderful texture on the rocks here, on the lighthouse, and of course we've got that gorgeous border with that texture around the edges there. That adds a really nice touch to the illustration. We've also got this really gorgeous subtle texture in the light here. We have this texture in the sea. So we've learned that texture is the key to making your art stand out. It adds richness to the final piece. And these techniques of applying texture is what gives the illustration its character and basically pulls everything together beautifully. Now remember, with the right techniques, you can bring any idea to life in no time. So thanks for joining me today. If you enjoyed this and want more tips, don't forget to like, subscribe. This will help me to create more tutorials such as this one for you. And please let me know in the comments what you'd love to see next. Keep creating, and I'll see you in the next video.